Welcome everyone. In today's video I am going to discuss the mind-blowing Tartaria, a lost civilization which seems to have been forgotten or erased. Tartaria was apparently once where a very spiritual and technologically advanced civilization existed. It was well known as the Golden Empire and covered most of the Northern Asian continent. Originally a location had been ruled by the Tartaria Velakani mighty giants, who were essentially from the Aryans. Tartaria was a huge landmass and would have still been the largest today if the mud floods had not destroyed everything. During October 1586, the civilization of Tartaria, which means strong place, was established. But over many centuries, the unity of that civilization then fragmented. After December 1922, Tartaria was then made into separate republics. On the 18th of April 1627, the famous Dutch cartographer known as William Blur completed his map of Tartaria, which clearly showed how massive the expanse of the Tartarian civilization was. The map showed Tartaria reached the borders of China and Mongolia. This incredibly advanced culture used free energy systems, grandiose architecture that still exists to this day, using the electromagnetic frequencies of planet Earth to abundantly live in Tartaria. Unbelievably, President Vladimir Putin in 2013 made Tartaria maps public, and in 2017 he also gave a map created by William Blur of Tartaria to the former president of Tartarstan, also known as Tartaria. So how did William Blur have such a clear picture of this country if it didn't exist? We learn about the famous Egypt, the Persian Empire, the Ottoman or Roman empires, but all of this history is small in comparison to the Tartarian Empire, unless it isn't true and it's just a myth or a story. But you can find too many documents that state this region certainly did exist. The landmass and territory called Tartary and Great Tartary was an historical location in northern Asia that existed between the Caspian Sea, the Ural Mountains and the Pacific Ocean. Tartary was a blanket term used by Europeans for the areas of central, northern and eastern Asia, as these parts were largely unknown to European explorers. This is why the entire geographic territory was known simply as Tartary, and its inhabitants were called Tartars. In 1998, the CIA declassified a document which they had produced in 1957. A section within the document mentions the existence of the Tartarian civilization. In other words, Tartar history was to be rewritten. Let us be frank, was to be falsified in order to eliminate references to the great Russian aggressions and to hide facts of the real centre of Tartar-Russian relations. A book that covers Tartaria very well is the James William Lee book called The One World Tartarians, the greatest civilization ever to be erased from history. And in the book he explains how the historical presence of Tartaria was deliberately censored and deleted. The word Tartaria is linguistically connected with the Greek word Tartaros, which means frightful place. That location then became more commonly known as Tartarus. In the stories of Greek mythology, the anciently founded Cyclopean giants were put into Tartarus, the frightful place. Hence, the Cyclopean giants of Greek mythology represented the Tartarian giants, whose golden empire was submerged in the silt and soil. The historical trauma which arose from the devastation of the Tartarian civilization was remembered in these archetypal stories. The Tartaria Velakani, the mighty giants, are thought to have been breatharians, which means they did not have to rely on the use of digestion and therefore did not need to consume food and water for calories. But instead, the mighty giants received energy straight from the ether, the Earth's grid. the geomagnetic frequencies that resonate around the planet Earth. This meant the mighty giants of Tartaria had obtained a true mastery as breatharians of the ether, which is comprised of electrostatic vibrations in the atmosphere. Since the mighty giants were breatharians, it is possible they had digestive systems that were different to those of human beings. The highly efficient Tartarian civilization was the largest controlled geographic expanse and would still have been the largest to this day. The extensive Golden Empire of Tartaria flourished due to their leader believing in advanced occult technology, free energy and grandiose architecture. Apparently, the communities of Tartarian giants had free energy systems installed within their churches, temples, and every kind of building. Hence, every property functioned as some kind of etheric generator station that produced electricity from the geomagnetic frequencies which resonate around the Earth. Maybe a connection to the work of Nikola Tesla, and where he was able to source his genius experiments. Other buildings which the mighty giants built were used as water stations and sound resonating acoustic healing centers. They worked with the telluric electrical currents of planet Earth. By using ingenious engineering, intricate architectural features and occult technology, the immensely productive mighty giants transformed the electrostatic soil into a natural circuit of the ground, which consistently resonated around planet Earth. The Tartarians had advanced methods of capturing and storing natural energy, creating energy systems that could power, heat, ventilate their own buildings. Their fireplaces did not burn any combustible substances like they do today. The fireplaces were used as electrical heating and cooling sources to create energy for the home, by connecting to the telluric currents of the Earth and therefore functioning as etheric electrical vacuums. So where has this information gone? Further evidence points to the fact that the Tartarian civilization was eradicated by a number of mudfloods which occurred between 1740 and 1894. Such upheavals became known as the Great Reset. The first mudflood occurred after the Great Frost, which was dated for the 8th of January 1740 and ended on the 6th of October 1741, and had been caused by a massive eruption by the Shivaluk volcano in eastern Russia. Vast atmospheric disturbances happened and possibly led to the second mudflood that happened in 1834, which then brought about the Great Reset on the 12th of February 1835. Further volcanic eruptions occurred, and these upheavals also caused atmospheric changes. These events could have contributed to the third mudflood happening in 1892. The third mudflood largely destroyed the remnants of Great Tartaria, and then by 1894 everything had geographically changed on planet Earth. There are thousands of buildings on Earth that relate to Tartarian architecture that are over 250 years old, encased in silt, gravel and soil from the mudfloods, and therefore give indication that such events did actually occur. Much of the silt, gravel and soil covers many stories of these buildings, and in some cases even completely engulfs them. This was most definitely an older kind of Great Reset and was exploited as a way to eradicate advanced scientific knowledge which humans could have used. We have to remember that knowledge is power. Over the past 5,000 years, there have been several great resets of civilizations. From the time of the Third Babel, the Confusion Tower, also known as the Tower of Babel in the Bible, it is also mentioned in Irish folklore about the various mudfloods. But the mudfloods did certainly cause most of the last Great Reset and therefore explain much of what can be observed in many countries. When we look at North America and elsewhere on Earth, it suggests that there were advanced civilizations from around 1627 to 1835, and in many cases even earlier than that. We are told that American Indians resided in teepees or wickiups, but this is a very distorted version of history, when actually only a minority of Native Americans existed like that. The American Indians developed highly advanced spiritual cultures, but much of that true history has also been destroyed. So did Tartaria exist? The idea that a golden empire historically existed in Northern Asia sounds like a Hollywood sci-fi movie or a fantasy adventure novel. But there is no doubt, because of the evidence that has been discovered, that the Tartarian civilization did exist. So why is this information not taught in schools, colleges and universities? Why is so much information about Tartaria deliberately kept from the public? Keep people from their history and they are easily controlled. For the control system to exist, the history of planet Earth has to be controlled, because anything outside of the narrative which they want you to believe has to be censored, erased or deleted. But they can never erase or conceal the truth, as evidence will always arise eventually. It is for us to put the pieces of this incredible puzzle together and learn from this spiritual experience as human beings, and not be caught up in someone else's version of reality. As we need to remember what the true history actually is, so we can progress and evolve productively as a society. Thank you for watching, everyone. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next week.